So Bhulaiyaa was released in 2007 and stars Akshay Kumar, Vidya Balan, and Paresh Rawal. And in this movie, a man and his wife move into his ancestor's home despite his family warning him about the ghost that lives there. And when scary stuff begins to happen, they must find a way to end it. So continuing on with our October spooky season movie reviews, as we're going to look at another horror classic. I know this movie is a South Indian movie and that Bollywood loved the script, so naturally what Bollywood does is they like the script from South India, they take it and they make it their own, hence why we got this movie back in 2007. And this was a wildly popular movie that actually got a sequel in 2022, but let's talk about the original first. Well, starting off with the positives for Bhulaiyaa, I love the story behind this. And that's really big coming from me because I'm not really a ghost demon movie guy. You've seen one, you've seen them all. They tend to follow a formula, but the story behind this is really refreshing. I love how they talk about the ghost, how to get there, why is it there, what's the goal of the ghost, and how everybody is clearly terrified of the presence of the ghost even being there. That's a really interesting story, and it makes you want to hear how the story is going to reach its conclusion. Well, let's talk about the acting. That's another big positive. Everybody is really good in this movie, but of course, Vidya Balan steals the show. It really showed how much of an acting range she has. Obviously I'm getting into spoilers here. If you haven't seen this movie, it came out in 2007. What are you doing, everybody? But yeah, in one scene, she's like this super sweet character, and then in a split second later in the movie, she becomes this super scary character, and you're just like, you want to back away and don't want anything to do with her at that point. So that's a really good job by her, because you really have to sell the character that she is doing, and I think she sold it really well. I mean, come on, that iconic scene alone where she is Manjulika in that scene with the anklets and the sari and everything, and she's doing that iconic dance, you hear Shreya Ghoshal's voice, it is so creepy. Like, you're hearing Shreya Ghoshal's beautiful voice, and she has one of the best singing voices I've ever heard, but then you see the dance and the makeup and the horror look that she has on her face, and you're like, you don't know how to feel because the music itself is so beautiful, but the message behind it, because you know the story of Manjulika and what happened, you just can't help but feel chills going up your spine. So really good job by everybody in that scene. I do appreciate how much the movie goes out of its way to really sell that there is a ghost here. Spoiler alert, there's not a ghost, and we'll talk about that in a second. But in order for this movie to work towards the twist, it has to sell to everybody, including the viewers, that there is a presence here, that Manjulika is a ghost, and she is terrorizing the people of this house. So the actors really have to sell it, and they did a hell of a job selling it. Even though there was no ghost, they made you believe that there was a demonic presence there. All right, going into the mixed aspects of this movie, this might be a bit controversial. Akshay Kumar, I'm not saying he acted bad, it's just his whole character kind of made no sense to me. So he's a psychiatrist in this movie because the husband, and we'll talk about the husband in a bit, the husband believes that, oh, there's all this ghost crap, it's not real, so I'm going to call my American psychiatrist friend. He comes, and honestly, his method really made no sense in the beginning. I know the whole twist of what he was doing, there was a method behind his madness, but a lot of his scenes made no sense to the plot whatsoever. Also, the comedy scenes with him were a little bit hit or miss. Some were really good and some weren't. And the thing I hate the most about the comedy scenes is they're so misplaced. You'll do a scary scene where somebody is near death situation and you have chills going down your spine, and then the next scene it's a total comedic movie where nothing's wrong, everybody's acting all normal, there's not a ghost in this house that's slowly picking apart the family one by one. It's just bad pacing on the writer aspect, because the actors are doing good, they're selling it, but the writing, the pacing, it did not do a good job of juggling the horror and the comedy. And now to the negatives, and the biggest one is I hate the husband. One of the most frustrating characters I have ever seen in my life. So in the beginning, he wants to move into the ancestor's house. His entire family says, dude, there is a ghost here, leave. We have seen it, get out. And he's like, oh, this is ridiculous, we don't believe in that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Dude, if your entire family is saying, don't move here, dude, don't move there. I don't care if you don't believe in spirits. If your entire family is so displeased with it, is it really that big of a deal to just buy another house there? Y'all are clearly, y'all got money. You got money. There's no problem with you buying a house. I feel like at that point, you're just being a rebel to be a rebel at that point. And after he finds out that his wife has been sick the entire time, he is still so frustrating. The one guy that is trying to help him in Akshay Kumar's character, he's trying to turn him away. He's like, oh, I'm just going to take her to London or America and take her to the big doctors. And Akshay Kumar's like, dude, I am a big doctor. I'm a famous psychiatrist. You think anybody else is going to do any better than me? So it's the husband was so frustrating to listen to the entire film. The maid was saying, hey, look, I saw a ghost. And he's like, fire her. She doesn't deserve to be here. It's dude, you suck. Some of the characters overall also really frustrated me. I know it's a horror comedy and, it's supposed to be a comedy of errors situation, but I cannot tell you how annoying it is that some of the decisions these characters make in this film, like investigating sounds, not going together as a group, not moving out of the house. Why do people insist on staying in the house? It made no sense. They clearly tried to exorcise the ghost. It wasn't working. So leave. Now let's talk about the twist. So it turns out that there actually is no ghost. Vidya Balan suffers from dissociative identity disorder. Her character in the movie suffers from that, and it's because of traumatic stuff that happened as a kid. So because of that, she was so enthralled with the character of Manjulika, the whole story, that she convinced herself that she was Manjulika. So she was slowly becoming that character, and she wanted to kill her husband, as the husband is the ancestor of the king that caused the trauma of Manjulika. Now, while that is really interesting, I gotta tell you, the reason why I have it as a negative is because it's kind of a letdown that there was no ghost to begin with, because the entire pacing of the movie is selling to you that there is a ghost. And then like with 45 minutes left in the movie, there's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's no ghost. Like, oh, she just has dissociative identity disorder. It felt like, honestly, like a cop-out. Like, I feel like the way the movie was written, if you honestly had a ghost and it just took over Vidya Balan's character, you honestly would have had the exact same outcome and still the same effect of the movie. Unknowingly, I don't think the writers meant to do this, but with there being no ghost, it basically confirmed what the husband was saying from the beginning. How he was like, oh, there's no ghost. Y'all are just idiots. This is just an old school way of thinking. Come to the modern age of how us new people think. Doesn't that kind of confirm what he was saying all along, is that how there is no ghost? I feel like you're kind of making the entire family look like idiots, and anybody who ever believed in ghosts, idiots overall, because there is no ghost in this movie. So I feel like they unknowingly did that, and it is a big flaw in my opinion, because I just feel like if you're going to call this Bhulaiyaa and you're going to call this a ghost story and all this stuff, and then literally with like 45 minutes left, you're all of a sudden going to do this big 180 on us about how like, oh, by the way, there's no ghost. It's a little bit of a letdown in my opinion. Overall, guys, I do find this movie very entertaining. The songs are amazing. I think Vidya Balan and all the acting is fantastic. Yes, the story I do love. I do love it a lot. But the twist at the end kind of is a mixed bag for me. But it's still, in my opinion, a classic of a movie. So I'm going to give this movie a B. I'm not going to hurt it too much. It's still a really good rewatchable movie, although some of the comedy scenes are very hit or miss. But overall, I think it's an enjoyable movie that you can watch every Halloween season, so I'm going to give it a B. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.